Hey everybody, it's your boy Sergeant Hooked on Henshins. So we're really excited about this video. As you can see from the title, this is my review for Kikai Sentai Zenkaiger's premiere episode, episode 1, whatever you want to call it. I've been chomping at the bit for this show to come out. Little bit of a backstory to all this. I'm really excited about it, a lot of it, because it's an anniversary season, and unlike a good chunk of some people in the fandom, I really like anniversary seasons, even the ones that aren't like full anniversary seasons, like when you think of Gokaiger. But like Zenkaiger was a good one. I've heard Bokanger was, things like that. But anyway, I've been really excited for this for a while. Gokaiger was my first Sentai season I ever watched and what brought me into this fandom. So I've been really excited for this, and it was a fantastic premiere. So going forward, I also am probably gonna like have to kind of talk about the plot of it. So some spoilers throughout to kind of like talk about what happens and kind of give my opinion on it and what I liked about it. But overall, a really good premiere. We get a really good setup for at least our first two of the Zenkaigers. Our main Zenkaiger, Zenkaiser is his ranger name, if you will, Goshikita Kaito. His parents are some form of world-renowned scientists that found a way that they discovered parallel universes, parallel worlds, and they've disappeared. Like I think for like 10 years they've been gone or something like that. And so, beginning of the show, it shows the world of what's called the Kikai, these robots, kind of merge partially into Kaito's world. So the Kikai just appear. And then it jumps to like a month later, which I thought would be a little longer than that, but it wasn't. Like a month later, and they've integrated into society really well. What I like about Kaito is I get a really good Aruto sense about him, where he's like super duper excited about getting to know the Kikanoids, and also his like drive to like do something impressive and be like the first to do it, like world record type. It's kind of interesting for a main character. Not really red, he's more of a white, I would say, as far as what color ranger he is. But he's a really good main character. I really like the way that he was portrayed. Very happy-go-lucky, but not in the excitable, red, annoying way. More of like, I would say honestly a mix of Ko in the way of like wanting to protect people and things like that, and also like a bit of the rambunctiousness of like Daigo from Kyoryuger. So yeah, so I think people will really like that, and that'll endear him to them. But yeah, really good main character for Zenkaiser. So he essentially goes out into the world. He's meeting the Kikonoids and trying to become friends with them and stuff. And the inciting event is this the Toji Tendo Empire, I think is what they're called. And their main guy is like this giant wall, like it's this huge wall piece with this arm sticking out in a face. And he has like an evil robotic bird named Gigi, something like that. And they've contained each of these Sentai worlds. Each Sentai has been separated off into its own parallel world, and it's inside of a Tojiri gear, so it's trapped in it. So they've conquered all these worlds, and Kaito's world is the last world left. It's a really interesting setup. We actually, in the very beginning, get Go Ranger, Zoo Ranger, and Kira Major footage, and of them getting trapped. The Q Ranger, or the Go Ranger and Zoo Ranger footage, they matched the film grain perfectly. They completely shot new footage for it, and matched the film grain so perfectly that I was like, is that just like footage that they just edited? Like, whoa. So they did a really good job with it. Also, the show has an amazing opening song that very much is reminiscent of Go Ranger, very like 70s vibes to it and stuff like that. Very exciting, and a lot of drum beats and horns and stuff like that. And also it has an opening dance. So instead of getting an ED ending dance, we get an opening dance. So that was cool. People are kind of mad about that, like, really, you're not going to get an ending dance? And it's like, we don't have to have one. Anyway, so that's the whole setup for everything. And essentially, the Toji Tendo Empire decides to attack Kaito's world. So they attack. They're subjugating humans and Kikonoids alike. Kaito even says, they're part of, you guys are Kikonoids as well. Like, you're going to destroy them? And they're basically like, they're weaklings, blah blah blah. Basic villain stuff. So we also are introduced to Zuran, who becomes Zenkai Zuran when he changed Zenkais, when he eventually transforms. And he's a dancer. He's modeled after, he looks kind of in the way he's dressed like Geki from, I think was his name, from Toronto Ranger from Zoo Ranger. His whole transformed state looks like Daizujin from Z-Ranger. Like it's an homage to that, clearly with the 16 on his head and all that. But anyway, he like ingratiates himself with the public. He starts to become friends with some younger people and like dancing with them, wants to party. Well, the Tojitendo Empire attacks. They think he's part of it because they're both robots. They're both Kikanoids. And he actually picks up a rock and he's going to like throw it at the Tojitendo Empire, the henchmen and everything. And the people get scared. He's like, no, 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 no. He's like trying to stop them. It's so sad because he makes friends and then they just like instantly are like, oh God, you're a threat. So he runs out, or he actually tries stopping him. And he gets his ass beat a little bit, as does Kaito. Kaito gets like tossed into the air. He like tries to stop them. He's getting some takoyaki made by a Kikonoid, and he traded it for some cotton candy or something like that. Really cool exchange there. And that he got from his grandma's shop. The shop is supposed to be the like kind of base of operations. So he's there. His grandma's a character, and also Seichan, this little robot bird thing that kind of reminds you of Circuit from Time Force and whatever the equivalent was in Time Ranger, and then also I can't remember his name, Navi, I think his name was, from Gokaiger. Anyway, so he just kind of just sitting there doing nothing, and then Kaito comes in after being attacked and is really scared with his his grandma's being attacked, and they get inside and they like pack up the walls so like the Kikanoids and the evil ones can't get in, and the bird activates and says, hey, go sit over here, sits in this little bed, and they press a button, they go down underneath the house / store, and they get to see basically his parents' like secret laboratory, and he gets a little thing opens up, and it's 5 Geartlingers, the transformation device for the season. So he picks one up, of course, with the Zenkaiger gear, and Seichan explains to him that there's all these Sentai seasons, these teams or whatever in these different parallel worlds, and that his parents work to create gears that represent each team that would then give somebody eventually a power based off of that. Essentially, they were, I think, preparing their world for the event that there would be evil that would come and being able to help create their own Sentai to protect their world. So, so he goes, takes one with him. Actually, it's really funny seeing, though. He tries to get the grandma to do it, and that scene we kept seeing, the little image we kept seeing promo-wise of him and the grandma together, is him in his imagination thinking what it would be like to fight with her. And she says, no, 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 no. And he's like, it's going to be cool. You'll be so cool. And she like goes like this and like smacks the video away underneath her. The fourth wall breaking is amazing in this show. So anyway, he runs out, fights a little bit, kind of shoots at some bad guys, and finds Juran. Juran saves this little kid from being attacked. And the little kid's like, thank you. And, he's like, yep, clear out of here. There's a lot more trouble. And Kaito's like, hey, you know what? You seem to be a good person. I want you to help me. Just trusts him out of nowhere. Tosses him a Geartlinger. They get up, and the Tojitendo part comes in. And one of the two of the best scenes in the whole show, and two of my favorite scenes in all of Sentai, and Tokusatsu, I will say even. They come in, and the one general guy comes up, and he's saying his little speech about, we're going to subjugate you, and we're bad, and blah, blah, blah. And the robots are behind him, the, mooks for the season, the, henchmen. And 3.5 seconds into trying to say a speech, and Juran's like, nah, I ain't trying to hear that. And just blot. Just shoots one of the henchmen behind him, and it just stops the monologue cold turkey. And even Kanto's looking at him like, what's wrong? Like, why would you do that? It's so great. I love Juran so much. He's going to be my favorite the whole season, I can tell. So they've transformed. They put the gears into it, and they're like, whoa, it's making a noise. And they transform. Clearly, Kaito becomes Zenkaiger. Juran becomes Zenkai Juran. And they fight. And the first gear that he uses, Kaito uses, is the Zenkaiger gear. Gives him the ability to fight, to fly and fight that way. And then eventually he throws down the ninja gear to Juran, who then uses it, gets this like ninja / fast attack, but he says Takaharu, I think is that his name from the ninja, I forget sometimes, his catchphrase about like, you're making me fired up or whatever. So that was cool. So he fights, and before he does it, that was the second thing I was saying. The first one was him shooting the person before, the bad guy before the speech was done. The second best thing in this episode, and one of my favorite things in all of Tokusatsu and Sentai ever, he gets the gear, and he's like, all right, opens his Geartlinger up, takes his gear out, puts the new one in, slaps it down, and then hears the music. He cranks it, and he hears the music. I love the cranking thing. The cranking of the Geartlinger is my favorite thing. Mine's coming soon, so excited. So He hears the music and he's like, "Oh, what's that? Where's that music coming from? Oh, it's coming from this." And he starts like, like grooving to the fucking beat. And I love Ziran so much. He's so great. So he fights. They're there to take care of a bunch of the henchmen. One of them, of course, gets big eventually, and Ziran assumes his like Megazord or Mecha form. Fights for a little bit, in his normal robot form with the sword and shield, which is similar to like the power sword or whatever the sword was that Daizujin had, and the like mammoth type shield from Z-Ranger / Mighty Morphin. So they fight or whatever for a little bit. He like even like takes like part of a billboard and like rides the laser attack right to the guy's face and smacks him once. And while that's happening, you're also getting a ground fight with Kaito and one of the general guys. And he says something about a gun is not a weapon to use in the close quarters, whatever. Like, you can't use a gun to fight in the sword fight. And he's like, well, a gun is no weapon to use in the sword fight. And he's like, well, cities aren't meant for burning or for destroying. Kind of a cool back and forth there. Really good choreography. The fight choreography is out of this world. The first fight that they do right there before he gets big is within an explosion. Like, literally inside of an explosion. So cool. So they're doing their thing. Jiran assumes his, animal, if you will, or, like, beast form. Turns into a T-Rex. Kicks more ass. Ends up beating him with this, like, basically this tail attack. And it's funny because some of the subtitles, depending on what ones you watch, say, "No, not the butt." He's like, his final attack is, because his tail is like a sword. So it's so great. So they beat him, and Zenkaiger beats his own, general he's fighting. So they're done. We get back to the shop, and they're talking back and forth. He's like, "Oh yeah," Zero's like, "I guess I am pretty cool," and whatever. And it leads into the next episode, which is something to do with mushrooms of some kind. People have mushrooms on their head, and we're going to be meeting the next Zenkaiger, Gaolan, who is supposed to be based off of like Gao Ranger and stuff like that. Any of the Beast Sentais, pretty much, he's representing. So it was a fantastic premiere. A lot happened very quickly, but there was a lot of heart. There was a lot of really great dialogue. The characterization was on point, and with it being like most Sentai is, every episode being about 22, 23 minutes long, you get a lot in that time frame. You really do. I'm super, super ready for this season. I would probably, if I rated it right now, I probably would honestly give it a 10 out of 10 right now. If I calm down, I probably would maybe shift more to like a 9.5, only because I wish more of them were introduced. But honestly, not really. I kind of like the slow burn approach of like eventually introducing the rest of the Zenkaigers and not like all at once. So again, fantastic characterization, really good fight scenes, amazing choreography. The effects are great. The Geertlinger is a must-have if you're a fan of Sentai. You're gonna love this thing. I don't have it yet. Mine's on the way. Should be here by Monday or maybe sooner. Definitely gonna do an unboxing review and then a follow-up demo video of what the sounds are that come with it. But yeah, and it's going to be, I think, a really good season. It's interesting to note they have not detailed yet how the tributes are going to go, if there is going to be, if there's going to be like returning actors, full teams, or if they're just going to kind of go to a world that represents that team and then use the gear and go about their day. I mean, I could see them going the Gokaiger route of being like full-on tributes with the actors coming back, stuff like that, but they don't have to. They could do a mix of it, honestly, of like kind of what Geo did and kind of what Gokaiger did, to an extent, and I think I'd be happy with that. But overall, a bombastic, awesome, amazing, obnoxious premiere, and definitely worth it, and one for the record books as far as Sentai. Like probably one of my favorite top 5 premiere episodes ever of any Sentai season I've ever watched. So definitely watch it. Again, I give it a 10 out of 10 right now. Episode 2 will be this weekend, introducing Gaolan, and I think from there we'll be getting Majin and then Vroon, and then finally the team will come together and we'll go from there. So definitely check it out. Lots of places to do it. Lots of different subtitle groups. If you guys want a follow-up video of like where to kind of look for stuff like that, I can do that. Yeah, so hopefully you guys liked the review. If you guys have any other thoughts about the premiere of the episode, leave it in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it. Again, thank you for liking the videos. Thank you for sharing, for following, subscribing. And yeah, thank you guys so much for the love and support. But as always, stay hooked on Henshins. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.